I'm letting them Good morning. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Come on in. Have a seat. Good to see everybody. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Monmouth County. My name is Sari Albertus. My pronouns are she and her. I serve as the chair of the Family Ministry Committee. Whoever you are, whomever you love, however you arrived at this beloved place, you are welcome here. Our mission is to create community, transform ourselves, and transform the world. This morning, we welcome Brian Gilmore back as our service musician. I draw your attention to the back side of your orders of service for announcements and service information for next week. For those on the live stream and for video viewers, the order of service link is available to you in the YouTube service description box. After the service, those gathered in person are welcome to visit with one another. Refreshments will be served in the community room, and people of all ages are welcome to visit with one another. If you are new to us, please do visit our website, uucmc.org, where you can sign up to get all the latest news of our congregation by email. We look forward to getting to know you better. Please put your devices on silent as we enter into worship together. Welcome again to this place of love and hope.
I'm the Reverend Dr. Craig Rubano. Thank you for joining us in this time of worship, where we understand doing worship in its original meaning of enacting a shaping concern for all that is of worth. Certainly of worth is the community we forge here. And these next 10 days, we have much for which to be thankful. And there are also several ways that each of us can contribute to the holidays being filled with magic, beauty, joy, and hope. You will certainly have noticed that an intrepid group of volunteers led by our aesthetics chair, Angie Morfogan, has adorned our meeting house public spaces with holiday colors, lights, and symbols of the season. Bravi to that group. And special thanks this year go to Joe and Allison Donahue for donating this beautiful Christmas tree. And to Steve and Allison Mitchell for picking it up and bringing it here. That's right. This is a time of year when we will have a lot of visitors and larger attendance. And it's really essential that we have folks in the lobby and at the doors greeting and ushering. No greeter signed up for today, for instance. This is the holiday season. We've got to have greeters, got to have ushers. And I think any of you could do that task with aplomb. So let's see some new faces in these roles. I hope you'll summon up the spirit of helping out. Just let, I don't know, Liz or let Kathy Paciano or Allison Mitchell or Lisa know that you are going to be of service. In addition to ushering and greeting, to follow our family 4 p.m. Christmas Eve service, we need cookies. And for our reception following the 8 p.m. service that evening, we need food items of all kinds. Now, you can drop these things off during the week or at next Sunday service. If you can't be here for Christmas Eve, it's that easy. And we hope that we'll have lots of things to eat. Or perhaps flowers are more your thing. Some people have already started, but we love donations of poinsettia plants so that we can adorn the whole place with the beautiful seasonal color. And one last reminder, at both the 4 and 8 p.m. services on Christmas Eve, we read the list of the names of babies born to our community since last Christmas Eve. So be sure to send in those names to lisa@uucmc.org. lisa@uucmc.org, or just let her know. Actually, send it so we know the spelling. So we can honor these new children in the world, for truly, any night a baby is born is a holy night. This morning we explore further our congregational theme of presence, a word with connotations both of physical presence and of a presence in absence. More later. At this time of year, when our minds are likely consumed with the ENTS ending presence, I want to remind us all that the gift of ENCE presence can also be life-changing, life-building. Our call to worship comes to us from Melissa Shaw Smith, a Hudson Valley mother of 3 who has taken to following the calling she's had since childhood to be a writer. This is her piece entitled aptly for us this month when our theme is presence. The year has rocked this world to its roots. What if, for one day, each being put down their burdens, their words of hate, their inhumanity, and breathed in the presence? Stopped fighting for history, for fears, hopes, dreams, and stood facing the morning sun, letting the warmth of the moment and the next accumulate like dust at their feet. Listened instead of spoke. Acknowledged truth, embraced silence. What if, for one day, each being acknowledged the fear and let it go, suspended beliefs, opened their arms, drew strength through earth, grass, rock, sand, found the sparrow singing from a lone bush, the small heart-shaped cloud, felt the currents of air wash over them, mingle with the breath, and let the seams unravel, borders blend, walls dissolve, and be one. What if? Come, let us worship together. Each week, here in this congregation and in every Unitarian Universalist gathering around the world, a flame is lit in a chalice cup, a symbol created in wartime to enable the life-saving work of getting refugees out of Nazi Germany. We perform this ritual in order to pause as we remember that it is we who make this or any space holy, sacred, special, set apart. We do it by gathering together, living out our values, and with love at the center of all that we do. I invite a woman to light our chalice flame this morning who, in addition to her many activities on behalf of others and to her leadership in this congregation, knows the power of communion with the natural world. Anne Sherwood, would you do us the honor as we hear these words by Maryland's one-time poet laureate, Michael S. Glazer, in a poem entitled the presence of trees. I have always felt the living presence of trees, the forest that calls to me as deeply as I breathe, as though the woods were marrow of my bone, as though I myself were a tree, a breathing, reaching arc of the larger canopy, beside a brook bubbling to foam, like the one deep in these woods that calls, that whispers, home. Thank you, Anne. I'm going to have us remain seated for our opening hymn and get us in this kind of a spirit of this winter season. This hymn has some of the most gorgeous and peaceful words in our hymnal, written by Richard S. Kimball, a lay member of the Allen Avenue UU Church in Portland, Maine. And they're set to a tune by Samuel Sebastian Wesley, 19th century organist and composer and grandson of the father of Methodism, Charles Wesley. This hymn is a prayer to winds, to storm clouds, to silence, to a bird, and to light. Surely a hymn that embodies the sense of presence we extol this morning. So number 83 in our hymnals and on the screens, Winds, Be Still.
Our story this week explores the practice of presence. We'll consider gift giving and being present to what we love and appreciate about those we plan on giving gifts to. So with this in mind, I have a classic winter holiday story to share with you called The Gift of the Magi, which was written by O. Henry. Once upon a time, there was a couple who had only been married a year, and they were about to share their first Christmas together. Della and Jim, those were their names. They didn't have much, but what they lacked in terms of money and things, they made up for in compassion and love. It was Christmas Eve, and neither Della nor Jim had gotten a present for the other. Della was worried because, you see, she only had $1.87 to spend on a present for Jim. She wondered, what could I possibly buy with $1.87? She turned around and she saw herself in the mirror. She noticed that her hair was long and lovely. Della realized then what she needed to do. And so she put her cloak on and she exited her apartment and dashed down the street to the shop that created wigs. "We purchase hair," read the sign in the window. Della asked the shopkeeper, "How much are you willing to pay for my hair?" And then when Della removed her cloak, the shopkeeper saw the long, thick hair that tumbled all the way to the ground. "Oh, how lovely," exclaimed the shopkeeper. "I'll offer you $20 for that gorgeous hair." Well, Della could finally go shopping because now she had $20 plus the $1.87 from before. And so she thought about what she could buy. And she remembered Jim's golden pocket watch. This pocket watch was one of Jim's prized possessions in the entire universe because it was passed down through his family, from his grandfather to his father, and then to Jim. Della thought about how Jim would pull the watch out of his pocket and not only check the time, but gaze at it, flipping it over and stroking it gently before he put it back in his pocket. And then Della came across the ideal gift, a gold chain for his pocket watch. She purchased the chain for $21, and now Jim's pocket watch wouldn't fall out of his pocket because it was attached to this chain. And how wonderful would it look each time Jim pulled the golden watch from his pocket? Everyone could see the gleaming gold. When Jim returned home that evening, Della ran toward him with the chain in her hand to give him the gift she had purchased. When Jim noticed his wife's short hair, and he frowned instead of smiling. "Don't be concerned," she exclaimed. "It doesn't take long for hair to regrow." Della, she looked nothing like she did before, but Jim told her it did not make him love her any less. "But if you open your gift, I think you'll understand what I felt and why I frowned when you came in." He handed his wife a tiny package, and she pulled the paper off, and she let out a cry of joy. For there lay the combs that she had seen in the shop window that she had loved for so long. These combs were beautiful combs with jewels down them, and they were perfect for her beautiful hair. But she had known that they cost too much for her, so she just admired them in the store window. And now, with her hair gone, she held the combs to her heart and said, "Don't worry, hair grows fast, Jim." Jim had not seen yet the gift that Della had gotten for him, so she held it out in an open hand. The gold shined softly as if it were her own warmth and loving spirit. It's perfect, Jim said. I hunted all over town for it. Now give me your watch, because I want to see how they look together. Jim sat down and smiled. Oh, Della, I sold my watch to get the money to buy you the combs. Let's put our Christmas gifts away for a moment and keep them a while. I love this chain, and I love how you made me feel by giving it to me, because you made me feel seen and appreciated, and that is truly the most precious gift of all. Della felt exactly the same as Jim, and they settled in for a perfect evening together. This story, it shows us that the ultimate gift we can give one another is the feeling of being known, the feeling of being seen by someone else. Della and Jim both gave up things that were quite precious to them, but it wasn't those things that mattered most. What made the gifts so powerful was the love and the care that is behind them, the way that they honored what was special about each other. In the days ahead, may we all hold on to this story with a reminder of how we can use gift giving this season and always to celebrate the people we love and what we love about them. And may we strive to be fully present with the people who matter most in our lives this holiday season, because this is a gift beyond measure. May it be so. And now we'll sing our children and youth. We'll bless them with Go Now in Peace.
It's time for generosity. Every week in this congregation, we are provided with an opportunity to practice generosity. This is your invitation to contribute to the well-being of our congregation and to our social justice partners through the good works of organizations which receive half of the monies collected each month. Excuse me. In months with 5 Sundays, a special recipient of our generosity is chosen for one of those Sundays. Today's offering goes to Jersey Shore Dream Center, an organization based in Neptune dedicated to providing hunger relief in the Monmouth County area through a mobile food truck delivering groceries to those who do not have transportation to their local food bank. The center also hosts holiday community meals throughout the year. A baby pantry distributes around 10,000 diapers a month, plus assists families in need with clothing, formula, and baby supplies. For those of you present here in the meeting house, the plates will be passed by the ushers. You may also join this time of generosity via text, send your offering by mail, or charge your contribution online with a memo designating an amount to Jersey Shore Dream Center. Please give generously.
In December, in particular, talking about presence, E-N-C-E, gets you into instant homonymic trouble. Did you know you could get into homonymic trouble? For these are the days of panic, the delivery deadlines closing in, when buying things for people who not only need nothing but want nothing starts to grate a bit on one's nerves, when the checkbooks come out to slip deliberate quantities into greeting cards. But this morning I mainly don't want to talk about ENTS presence. I want to talk about presence, E-N-C-E. It turns out the definition of presence is complicated. This seems always to happen when I approach a word deeply, but this time, within the definition of presence is its seeming opposite. For while the first definition of presence is the state of existing in a place, like calling out present when they take attendance, because there you are. Presence, however, has another differently nuanced meaning, referring to something or someone who is decidedly not there, and yet somehow there all the same. When there is a manifestation, a spiritual sense, but where there is an absence of the thing itself. There's a story that celebrated French writer Jean-Paul Sartre tells in his masterpiece, Being and Nothingness, about going to a cafe to meet his friend Pierre. Sartre gazes around the room, searchingly, a room full of smoke, plates clinking, patrons eating and drinking and laughing. And as he scans each item, expecting to find Pierre, Pierre is not there. And yet, Sartre feels that there is still something very present. And he realizes that it is the absence of Pierre. His absence is present. In that moment, Sartre, perhaps for the first time, is consciously aware of the presence of absence, or what he calls nothingness. The knowledge and expectation and longing for Pierre in Sartre's mind have created a sensed presence of Pierre's absence. And I think that these days, near the end of the year, when nearly everyone has a holiday ritual or two, or many more, even if those rituals are specifically to avoid falling prey to some other less desirable ones, this is the time when our minds, like Sartre's, create, or when we truly feel, commune with the presence of those absent, those gone, those for whom we long. Not that we expect them to physically appear, but in real ways, even if it only manifests as sudden tears cascading down our faces. They are there, nonetheless. The reason those we have lost are able to be with us in such vividness is because of the very loved palpability of their earlier presence. If Sartre hadn't made a date with Pierre and happened to walk into the same cafe, he would have felt no presence of Pierre's absence. The love we have for those who are absent allows a presence that can catch us by surprise with unexpected emotionality. In the story of Pierre, however, the most profound realization Sartre went on to have was not that absence has its own presence, but that the equation goes the opposite way as well, or rather precedes the first. That somehow a knowledge of absence allows us to experience presence in its fullness. That without prior presence of absence, there would be a decided absence of presence. that loss and its attendant absence predicates our ability to know presence, that we experience a fullness of life in ways not possible without knowing its loss. UU minister, the Reverend Scott Taylor, writes, "There's something about the holidays that invites the presence of loved ones lost into our awareness. So many things become doorways through which those beloveds return. An old ornament, a Christmas carol, a simple candle flickering in a window, the smell of their favorite pie, wrapping paper and the memory of how much they loved matching it with the gift, or just with everyone laughing and you noticing the absence of their laughter. Yes, so many doorways. And if we can remember that attention is the key, they step through that door." At tea time this week, we were prompted into an awareness of presence through a poem by Rosemary Watola Traumer, in which the poet finds herself talking to the dead, narrating her day to those whom she has lost. Looking out the window, she cries out, "Look at the bunny!" to a clearly empty kitchen. "Isn't it beautiful?" she exclaims into the cold air as she walks alone through the newly fallen snow. But here's the thing, she goes on to realize, in sharing these things, sharing things with the presence of loved ones' absences, and having a sense of their presences listening in, life becomes more memorable, more full. Traumer ends the poem with these words, "How strangely wondrous life can be after a loss. I feel their presence in the listening, feel how the listening wraps its tender arms around me, feel how gently the listening leans in to cradle my face with silence. The listening that wraps itself around her, even if there is no physical listener present." Such is the power of being listened to. In listening to one another, we allow the stories, the memories, the presences of a person's world to come to life. And the perceivable absence of a loved one becomes a mentally, spiritually tangible reality. We can do that for one another through listening, through accompanying. We can give one another the present of presence. I have spoken to so many friends and family in these last weeks, and in anticipation of the incoming regime, there is a genuine presence in their lives of fear, dread, disgust, exhaustion. There's a lack of concentration, a deadening of emotion. Grief has taken hold of many of our beings. And many people, including some of you, ask me, what can we do? I think what they mean is, what can we do to counter some of the incoming madness? And I'm sure there will be many things that will be clearly within our power to do in the months ahead. But I wonder if they are also asking, what can we do to get some sleep, to heal, to access some calm? And right now, I think perhaps the most powerful thing we can do is to be present to one another and to listen. To create spaces where the fullness of people's days can come back to life through storytelling and memory. When those absent can become loving presences to cherish and to hold us in their tender arms. To repeat some of the words from the Call to Worship by Melissa Shaw Smith, the year has rocked this world to its roots. What if for one day each being put down their burdens, their words of hate, their inhumanity, and breathed in the presence, listened instead of spoke, acknowledged truth, embraced silence? 1 week to go until the winter solstice, and then the days grow longer and longer. Well, that's good news. Winter, too, can be, if not good, then important news. Chaplain and author Anne Richardson uses the word winter as a verb when she talks about wanting the season to winter her, to let the darkness and the shortness of the days wrap her in the special stillness that winter brings. Perhaps, she says to our theme this morning, the dark of winter brings to light the immensity of our losses. She writes, the edge of darkness of winter welcome the dance of sorrow, and our stumbles and yearning and howling that may even turn to laughter. It is all welcome, and it can be done in community. See, the ancients built fires to gather around during these dark, cold times, knew we did not need to grieve alone, knew we could travel to the edges and come back. My mentor, grief, is tapping me on the shoulder, saying, how can you listen to the wisdom of this season if you don't take time to die like Earth does? To what is winter asking you to listen? What or whom are you grieving? What process needs this time to put down roots in your being? How can the stillness of winter be a place where you can experience the presence of loved ones, those both absent and present? How can we be the light for one another, even as the days draw to their shortest lengths? How can we give to one another the present of presence? Perhaps it is by saying yes to life, saying yes to love, saying yes to the truth that life's preciousness is often dependent on the awareness that comes with loss. May we answer yes to winter, to hard truths, to life, to love, to one another. May it be so. let that beautiful piece of music invite you into a time of prayer and meditation. As many of you know, I recently represented this congregation at the UU Fellowship in San Miguel de Allende, Mexico. And there, various portions of the service are in Spanish. And when I hear something I know well in one language in another, it causes me to examine the meaning of both versions. And such is always my reaction to the Spanish version of Spirit of Life. It's number 123 in the hymnal, and it will be on the screens. The Spanish version of Spirit of Life, translated into English, goes something like this: Fount of love, come towards me and sing your compassion to my heart. Blow as you fly, rise in the sea until you mold life's justice. Cause me to take root, free me, fount of love. Come to me, come to me. So let's sing the Spanish version of Spirit of Life, followed by the English. Join me at any time in singing this prayer, and then join me in holding a time of silence, a time of communal presence in this space. Fuente de amor, ven hacia mí y al corazón cántale tu compasión. Sopla al volar, sube en la mar, hasta moldear la justicia de la vida. Arraígame, libérame, fuente de amor, ven a mí, ven a mí. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. Amen. Our closing hymn is like our opening hymn, a set of contemporary words set to an old tune. This melody is by Johann Georg Ebeling from 17th century Germany, and its words are by Alicia S. Carpenter, who has authored no fewer than 10 songs in our gray hymnal. So please rise in body and or spirit to sing our closing hymn, number 6 in the hymnal and on the screens, Just as Long as I Have Breath. Just as long as my heart beats, I must answer yes to love. Disappointment pierced me through, still I kept on loving you. If they ask what I did best, tell them I said yes to love. I invite you to be seated. After some closing words of benediction, I'll invite us to remain seated to hear part 3 of Edvard Grieg's wedding day at Troldhagen, of which we have heard parts 1 and 2 earlier in the service. The piece was written by Grieg in honor of the 25th anniversary of marrying his wife, Nina. First, some words from Franciscan friar and ecumenical teacher Richard Rohr that not only resonate well with a wedding celebration, but lead nicely from the closing hymn of saying yes to life, to truth, to love, to being in the presence of another human being. He writes, I think the truly human is always experienced in vulnerability, in mutuality, in reciprocity. When human beings try to deny their own vulnerability, even from themselves, when they cannot admit weakness, neediness, hurt, pain, suffering, sadness, they become very unhuman and not very attractive. They don't change you. They don't invite you. Vulnerability transforms you. You can't be in the presence of a truly vulnerable, honestly vulnerable person and not be affected. I think that's the way we are meant to be, in the presence of one another. For a third week in a row, we have had the pleasure of the artistry of Brian Gilmore. Thank you, Brian. Let us go and bless the world with our presence.